Check 1 2. Check check. Check 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 check. 1 2 3. Check. 1 2. Check 1 2. Check. 1 2. Check. One two 1 2 3. Check 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 check. 1 2. Check. Okay.
So here I am at the English station and the translation booth, and I am close to the mouthpiece. You should be hearing me now, I'm hoping. Yes, excellent. Change. And now I'm English again on the second console.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. If I could ask members of council and the public to take their seats, on va commencer la réunion dans une minute.
We'll be starting in 1 minute.
Minute, if members of council could take their seats. Thank you. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Ottawa City Council meeting of August 26, 2015. If those who are able to could please stand for a moment of reflection and remain standing for the singing of our national anthem.
Our home and native land, true patriot love, in all thy sons command, car ton bras s'est porté l'épée, il s'est porté la croix. Ton histoire est une épopée des plus brillants exploits. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
So if you could remain standing, we'll have a moment of silent reflection and then ask Councillor Kakish to thank our guest soloist. Thank you. If you could please be seated, and Councillor Kakish will thank our soloist.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I guess we should have gone through the drill beforehand. That was Malak Ghanem, incredibly talented student from Carleton University, where she's completing her degree in music. Malak was involved in music from an early age and studied intensively with renowned vocal specialists in the art of jazz, musical theater, opera, and pop. She won prestigious national and international awards in multiple countries across the world for a diverse vocal abilities in these various genres. She has performed in many high-profile events as well as charity events, and some of Ottawa's most renowned live music venues such as Live on Elgin and the Rainbow Bistro. She's currently recording her debut EP to be released in the fall, and I think you said I can share the date, so October 30th. And she promised to give us free copies of those CDs, but there's no doubt that her talent and hard work has touched many with her singing, as you saw a few moments ago, so thank you very much for being here.
Canadians have known for some time that as a population, we're getting older. Nous savons tout depuis un bon
Canadians have known for some time that as a population we're getting older.
They make up the fastest growing age group in Ottawa, and that number is expected to double in size over the next 20 years. For the first time ever, the senior population is expected to outnumber that of children under the age of 15 at some point between 2015 and 2021. This Council has made unprecedented investments in making Ottawa a more age-friendly city. However, particularly among seniors living on a limited income, there are gaps that need to be addressed. Marie has been a staple in her community, working diligently to provide leadership and education to ensure that no one falls between the cracks. Acting as president of Clementine Towers Association in the Heron Park community for over 15 years, Marie came to the association with a wealth of volunteer experience. To ensure her fellow residents' well-being and health, Marie has initiated several activities like free exercise programs, tax clinics, and access to the flu shot. Thanks to Marie's leadership, residents of Clementine Towers now have the necessary resources and education to access these vital services. Furthermore, thanks to the many social events planned under Marie's direction, the seniors of Clementine Towers have an opportunity to socialize with each other and build a true sense of community. Marie, on behalf of your councillor, David Chernyshenko, and all members of council, we want to thank you very, very much for the tremendous work you've done at Clementine Towers. My understanding is you moved into Clementine Towers 16 years ago, and you've been president for 16 years, so that's quite a run. Most politicians would be very envious of that streak, and I'm sure you've got 100% of the vote and 100% of the community who've come out to thank you for a job very well done. Congratulations.
Good morning, everyone. As Mayor Watson has just said, I moved into the building 16 years ago. 6 months later, I was nominated as president, and thank you to the people of Clementine Towers. They've had that much faith in me that I'm back there again. So I've tried to do my best to make the building quite adequate for the people, and I have a few of the people here, and plus my family. And I thank David for nominating me, and I think that's it. I'm here. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Wonderful. Nice to see you again. Well, thank you to Marie and her family and residents and friends from Clementine Towers. A roll call, please, Madam Deputy Clerk.
Councillor Manette.
Present.
Councillor Middick.
Present.
Councillor Harder. Here. Councillor Wilkinson.
Present.
Councillor Shantiri.
Present.
Councillor Caudry.
Present.
Councillor Taylor.
Here.
Councillor Shirelli.
Here.
Councillor Eglai. Councillor Deans.
Here.
Councillor Tierney.
Present.
Councillor Fleury.
Present.
Councillor Nussbaum. Councillor McKinney.
Present.
Councillor Leeper.
Present.
Councillor Brockington.
Here.
Councillor Chernyshenko.
Present.
Councillor Cloutier.
Present.
Councillor Blais.
Present.
Councillor DeRuse.
Here.
Councillor Moffat.
Here.
Councillor Kakish.
Present.
Councillor Hughley.
Here.
Mayor Watson.
Here.
Le quorum est 10, Monsieur le Maire.
Merci.
You have the quorum.
Confirmation of minutes, adoption de procès-verbaux, 8th of July, 2015, carried. Declarations of interest, including those originally arising from prior meetings, déclaration de conflit d'intérêt, none. Communications as received. Regrets, Councillor Keith Eglai and Toby Nussbaum advise they will be absent from the council meeting of August 26, 2015. Motion to introduce reports. Motion portant présentation de rapport. Councillors El Shantiri and McKenney, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McKenney that the Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee Report 6A, Community and Protective Service Committee Report 6, and Planning Committee Report 11A be received and considered, and the rule procedures be suspended to receive and consider the Planning Committee Report 12, subsection 29.3, because of the urgency of the item contained in the report, specific reason set out below, and that petition from resident of Courtland Park listed under communication be received. Waiver of the rules has been requested for Planning Committee Report 12, Item 9 of the agenda, as pertained to a significant priority project for the city and needs council approval to ensure critical timelines are met.
On the motion, carried. Reports, postponements, and deferrals. Report en renvoi. City Council, July 8th. Planning Committee Report number 10. Official Plan and Zoning Bylaw Amendment 180 Metcalfe Street. Modification au plan officiel et au règlement de zonage 180 rue Metcalfe. Does anyone have any comments, questions? Councillor McKinney?
Can I go ahead and we're going to vote on this?
This item is now before us. So.
Yes, okay, thank you. I do want to start by thanking my colleagues for the deferral to today from our last council meeting. Nothing further came of it, so we have the same recommendation in front of us today, and this recommendation does not conform to the secondary plan. This area of Centertown is divided into different character areas. So I'm just going to read to you very quickly the two different character areas. One is called the Northern Character Area, and this designation permits apartment buildings and townhouses, as well as public open spaces. Small-scale neighborhood-oriented commercial uses are also permitted, but they're restricted to the first two floors. The Southern Character Area, permitted uses shall include apartment buildings, townhouses, offices, small-scale, large format retail, hotels, bulk good outlets, wholesale, etc. So if I were to ask you today, because we have a recommendation in front of us today to add hotel use in our downtown neighborhood where it's not permitted, you would probably guess that it's going into the Southern Character Area where it actually says hotels. But you'd be wrong. It's actually going into the Northern Character Area where it is not permitted. This is, and I want to just make it clear that I actually have absolutely no opposition to hotels. I stay in them regularly, and I invite people to stay in them in my neighborhoods. 2 blocks away we have hotels, but 2 blocks in any neighborhood there's a difference. Think about your neighborhood. And there's a difference between 1 block and something a couple blocks away. One of the rationale that staff used for allowing a hotel here where it's not permitted is that it's quasi-residential. I suppose a detention center is quasi-residential. People eat and sleep and take showers and do all the same things they do in hotels, but presuming none of you would want a detention center in your residential neighborhood. So when we're looking at a brand new community design plan that we've spent millions of dollars on, that we've invited the community out, this community, working with the development industry, working with our staff, actually gave up height, said, you know what, we'll take 27 stories in height, but let's make it residential. We want to encourage residential use in this part of our downtown. And the very first application that's before us asks for 6 stories of hotel use. So I don't see the rationale. It doesn't make sense to my community. It doesn't, for For those of you who have community design plans coming to your neighborhood, I'm not sure what you're going to tell your residents. We know that things are not written in stone, but there is an expectation that we will have some predictability in the way we plan our neighborhoods. And this is the first test of the Centertown CDP. It does not conform to the Centertown CDP. The use is wrong. It should be restricted, as it says, in the northern character area to the first 2 floors. So I'm going to encourage my colleagues to help me to respect this brand new community design plan and vote against the recommendation by staff. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Councillor. Other comments? No. So on the report as presented, carried. Dissent by yeas and nays.
Councillor Chernyshenko?
No.
Councillor Shirelli?
No.
Conseiller Manette?
Yes.
Councillor McKenney?
No.
Councillor DeRuse?
Yes.
Councillor Nussbaum? Councillor Brockington?
No.
Councillor Leeper?
No.
Councillor Caudry?
Yes.
Councillor Aglai? Councillor Taylor?
Yes.
Councillor Deans?
No.
Conseiller Fleury?
No.
Councillor Middick?
No.
Councillor Tierney?
Yes.
Councillor Harder? Councillor Wilkinson?
No.
Councillor Hubley?
Yes.
Councillor Kakish?
No.
Councillor El-Shantiri?
Yes.
Councillor Moffat?
Yes.
Conseiller Blais?
Oui.
Conseiller Cloutier?
No.
Mayor Watson?
Yes.
11 yeas, 11 nays.
Sorry, the vote is,
11 yeas, 11 nays.
so the motion is defeated. Okay. So the clerk's advised us that we'll need an alternative motion, so this will be put to the side until we have a recommendation from the clerk. So we'll come back to this item. Committee reports, Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee, installation of stop signs on Colonial Road at Sarsfield Road. Carried. Community and Protective Services Committee report number 6, Crime Prevention Ottawa Annual Action Report. Received. Community Garden update. Carried. Strategic Initiative number 38, 10-year Housing and Homelessness Plan. Carried. Congratulations. Some good projects. Partnership Program for Major Festivals, Fairs, and Special Events. Revisions. Councillor Hubley would like to hold that, so we'll come back to that. Planning Committee Report number 11A, Official Plan Amendment and Zoning Bylaw Amendment, 538, 544, and 560 Rideau Street and 501 Besserer Street. We're going to hold that. I believe Councillor Fleury has comments. Community Design Plan, Official Plan Amendment and Zoning Bylaw Amendment, Stittsville, Main Street, Neil Avenue to Bell Street, various addresses. I believe Councillor Kadri, I just wanted to thank Councillor Kadri for the work that he did on this particular project. And I don't know, I think you may have some thanks, Councillor, or is it longer than that? Can we come back, or would you like to do it now?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I just want to say a couple of comments. First of all, my comments and compliments go to the community for participating in this process from day one and now seeing it come through to fruition if the council approves it, as well as to city staff on this item. For over 2 years, they worked very diligently and hard on this project, especially planner Mark Young, and I just want to throw some kudos to that department and to Mark Young for doing an excellent job on this project. Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor.
All right, thank you. On the report, carried. Application to alter City Works Building 7 Bayview Yard, a property protected under Part 4 of the Ontario Heritage Act. Carried. Bulk consent agenda. Does anyone wish to remove anything from the bulk consent agenda? On the bulk consent agenda as presented, carried. So we'll come back to item number 6, partnership program for major festivals, fairs, and special events. Councillor Hubley, please.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. My question on this report is there's a change in here where we're going to require all festival organizations to provide audited financial statements based on the size of their operating budget rather than the size of the grant. So to give you an example to work with, and for my colleagues to understand my concern here, Canada Day has a budget of about $150,000, yet the city only contributed $2,000 towards that. I'm sure there's lots of other festivals across town that get just these small grants. The requirement now to provide an audited statement would exceed that $2,000. So I'm wondering what the plan is here, and if maybe we should just have a cap to say grants over $5,000 or whatever.
Through the Mayor. Thank you, Councillor. I can advise, using the example you provided, most of those small community festivals that we're talking about are funded through the city's civic events funding program, which is a different funding stream in the recreation envelope rather than the cultural envelope. The audit requirement for those groups does not apply because you're quite right that most of the grants are in the $2,000 to $3,000 range, and we'd be in fact imposing a requirement that in most cases would exceed our grants. So the groups that this applies to are, for the most part, the large culture-based festivals that in great part already provide. There are a few that don't have audited statements yet, but that have, in most cases, budgets well over $100,000, often into the $1 million. This would not apply to local Canada or Orleans-based, those types of community festivals, since they're funded through the Civic Events Program.
Thank you very much. Mr. Mayor, that's all my questions.
Great, thank you. On the report, carried. Planning Committee report number 11A, official plan amendment and zoning bylaw amendment 538, 544, 560 Rideau Street, and 501 Besserer. Councillor Harder and Tierney have a motion. If Councillor Harder would like to introduce that motion on this 538, the Besserer Rideau Street amendment. I believe this is a setback technical requirement.
And I'll just introduce it by saying at the council meeting of July the 7th, when this item was before us, I think it was Councillor Nussbaum who asked if over the summer, because we had those 3 weeks, if the staff could work with the applicant, and which the staff did, work with the applicant, and this reflects that discussion by having a setback of 2 meters all along Rideau Street. So it's before you on the screen. There's a whereas with the address, whereas directed staff to work with the applicant, whereas staff have discussed with the applicant and agreed to amend proposed height and setback schedule to include a 2-meter step back requirement above the 6th story of the building spanning the entire frontage of the property. Therefore, be it resolved, the Council approve an amendment to replace document 4 of the report with the following schedule. Be it further resolved that pursuant to the Planning Act, subsection 3417, no further notice be given.
Okay, so we have a motion by Councillor Harder, seconded by Councillor Tierney. Does Councillor Fleury want to speak on this? Okay.
This is
so on the motion,
carried.
On the setback? Thank you. On the main motion, Councillor Fleury, please.
Okay. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Alors, évidemment, il y a eu des belles.
Obviously, we've had very good discussions at the committee. I made my point at the meeting. At the Uptime CDP. We had some support around the table, but it was not
from all of the committee. I would have hoped that the applicant would wait for the CDP to be completed before they submit their application, but unfortunately we have no mechanism that would slow down this application. That being said,
although I wish the applicant had waited until the CDP was completed so that all the discussion around density transfers and others would have been in place or approved, that it would have been more suitable for this application. That said, I believe that having the holding condition on the zoning is sufficient, and through the site plan elements that we'll be looking at and that the community that is very important are the following. So the size, location, and format of the privately owned public spaces, the transition to the residential areas along Besserer, the aesthetic of the roadway at Rideau and Coburg leading into the dead end at Besserer, the overall aesthetics of the building in order to make the building that a community would be proud of. That includes increasing articulation of the facade to improve the pedestrian experience along Rideau. And as members of council would have seen, the soil condition concerns that the community has raised, all those will be looked at through site plan. Because of the holding conditions and because of the authority, I really am looking forward to the discussion between the developer and the community and myself and the city in this case. But I hope that and I'm counting on your support that if I do see that the conversations don't progress and unsatisfactory, that I would pull delegated authority on the site plan. So I will dissent on the file based on them not waiting till the end of the CDP to promote the application.
Okay, Councillor Fleury, thank you. Anyone else on this item? So we have the amendment that's been passed, so the report as amended. Carried. Dissent by Councillor Fleury, McKenney, Leeper, and Cloutier. That's it? Okay, thank you. That's carried. Next item is motion to adopt reports. Motion. Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, I apologize. Councillor Harder has a procedural motion with respect to the property on Metcalfe Street, I believe.
Deferral of this item to the next meeting of council, which is the 23rd, is it? No, it's the 9th of September. So to September the 9th. And it's seconded by Councillor McKenney.
Moved by Councillor Harder, seconded by Councillor McKenney, that this item be deferred to the next council meeting, and I believe that will give the parties a chance to see if there's any
Which for the record, Mr. Mayor, we did work on that this summer.
I know
Thank you.
You did, and I appreciate that and the work of Councillor McKenney on the file.
Thank
you. We're deferring this item. So on deferral, carried. Motion to adopt reports. Motion portant adoption de rapport. Councillor El Shantiri, please.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. On myself and seconded by Councillor McKenney, that Agriculture and Rural Affairs Committee Report 6A, Community Protective Services Committee Report 6, and Planning Committee Report 11A and 12 be received and adopted as amended.
On the councillor's motion, carried. Motions requiring suspension of the rules of procedure. We have a number of fit applications. So the first one is Councillor Blais, Carlsbad Springs Solar Project. On suspension of the rules, carried. Councillor Blais, second by Councillor El Shantiri. Councillor Blais, the floor is yours.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor. There are actually two in Carlsbad Springs. Landowners applying to have a ground-mounted solar project or community meeting. There was some opposition, but largely related to, appearance and, property issues in the neighborhood. But generally, I think this is a good project to allow the property owner to go through the process on. The province has the final say on whether these are installed or not.
Okay, anyone else on the item? Carried. Carried. Merci. Thank you. Second, Councillor Blais, another fit on Carlsbad Springs as well. On suspension of the rules. Carried. Councillor Blais, the floor is yours.
It's basically the same thing. I would encourage councillors to support it.
On the motion, carried. Adopté. Merci. Councillor Elshantiri, on suspension for a rooftop solar project. On suspension, carried. Councillor Elshantiri, the floor is yours. Second by Councillor Moffat.
Well, Mr. Mayor, I believe the same motion was approved in the past. Just to put a little bit of context in it, it was returned to us by the authority in the province who made that decision because we didn't use the same format. So basically those motions we have today in front of us, they were approved on July 8th council meeting. The city staff been contact independent electricity system operator, and they asked us to use their format for these motion to be used for the system they use at the province. So basically it's the same motions we passed on July 8th, but we have to repass them today with the format we have. We have one motion moved by myself and seconded by Councillor Moffat. Therefore, with a list of whereases, but therefore be it resolved that Council approve the individual motions of support for the ground-mounted solar fit program project application listed as Appendix A through P, and they're all listed in with your package today. So basically, we approved that on July 8th. We just have to reapprove it today with the new format.
Okay, on the motion, carried. The next two are also Councillor Elshantiri. Councillor Elshantiri on suspension, carried. On the main motion, Councillor.
I believe, Mr. Mayor, we're talking about now. Are we on a retail business holiday act? Is that what?
No, you're on your second of third fit motions.
Well, all those motions, Mr. Mayor, are the same. Basically, we approved it before, and now we have to reapprove them again.
Yeah, so we have to do each one. So on Councillor Elshantiri's number 4 motion, carried. And then the fifth one on suspension, carried. And Councillor Elshantiri, I think it's the same one. So on his motion, carried. Item number 6 is Councillor Moffat, seconded by Councillor Elshantiri, with respect to party to lease for Trail Road Solar Project on suspension, carried. Councillor Moffat, the floor is yours on your main motion.
Thank you. Whereas Council on April 15th declared surplus to the city's needs 2 parcels of land on Moody Drive and authorized city manager to negotiate, finalize, execute a lease agreement for a period of 20 years, having an approximate annual value to the city of $125,000 plus HST, to Energy Ottawa Limited, as particularly set out in Report ACS 2015 PAI REP 0003. And whereas Council on June 24th, 2015, in receiving the annual report for Hydro Ottawa for the year 2014, approved the IESO's prescribed template municipal council support resolution, demonstrated support for the development, construction, operation of the Trail Road Solar Project, and proposed connection line on the above lands and the above referenced template, provided that the registered proponent be Energy Ottawa, Inc., or its designated affiliate. And whereas Energy Ottawa has recently been able to conclude a joint venture with First Nations participation in which Solar Trail LP has been created and its general partner Solar Trail GP Inc. has been incorporated, both of which will be controlled by Energy Ottawa, and it is advantageous to Energy Ottawa for the evaluation of proposals by the IESO for this joint venture to be recognized. Therefore, be it resolved that Council approved Solar Trail LP as the party to the leased lands on Moody Drive for the Trail Road Solar Project in place of Energy Ottawa Limited.
Thank you. On the motion, carried. Are there any other motions requiring suspension of the rules of procedure? No. Notices of motion for consideration at subsequent meeting. Avis de motion pour examen en réunion subséquente. Councillor Elshantiri, seconded by Councillor Chernyshenko, on the Retail Business Holidays Act application process revision. This is not approving an area, it's approving the process to update it from the old RMOC, the Regional Government to the new City of Ottawa. So, Councillor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Would you like me to read the whole motion, or because I think is to put it in contact with, or it is an oath motion, but I'll be happy to.
Yeah, maybe just a summary of it, because everyone has a copy, I believe. It's
So moved by myself, second by Councillor Charanchenko, where the Retail Business Holiday Act, RBHA, as a provincial legislation that require retail businesses and businesses area to remain closed on prescribed provincial holiday unless they are exempt by the RBHA or benefit from the municipal exemption bylaw allowing them to remain open on holiday. Whereas the GLEBE BIA has submitted an application to the city on behalf of its retail member for exemption bylaw for retail businesses in and around Lansdowne Park and the Glebe area, and such an application will be reviewed in accordance with the streamlined process further described in this motion. And whereas the Regional Municipality of Ottawa Carleton enact RMOC bylaw 98 of 1992, which is still in force, to establish process for receiving and considering application for exemptions bylaw under RBHA, such as holding of through committee meeting in respect of application, and whereas certain amendments are required to RMOC bylaw 98 of 1992 to streamline the application process for exemption bylaw under the RBHA and align such a process with the existing standing committee structure of the City of Ottawa. Therefore, we resolve the City of Ottawa be directed to consult with the Ottawa Council of BIA on the process to receive and consider applications under the RBHA in the future, and further that the City Clerk and Solicitor be directed to amend the RMOC bylaw 98 of 1992 as such it align with the city's current report and standing committee structure, including that reference to regional clerk and regional solicitor be deleted and replaced with the city clerk and solicitor. 2, reference to the executive committee be deleted to replace with the words Finance and Economic Development Committee, FETCO. Only one committee meeting be required to consider an application, and that such a meeting be before FETCO, with the City Council having final say on the application in question. The FETCO meeting serve as a public meeting for the purpose of the Act, in which member of the public may make presentation on the proposed application. Notes to the public be provided by the means of publication of the FETCO agenda in accordance with the usual council approved process and practice in standing committees, and the Economic Development and Innovation Department be the lead department to receive and consider application for exemption bylaw under the RBHA, together with presenting a staff report with recommendations on the particular application, with the assistance as required by the City Clerk and Solicitor Department and other departments as the case may be.
Okay, so that's a notice of motion that will come to the next meeting of Council. Are there any other notices of motion at this time? Est-ce qu'il y a des autres motions? Motion to introduce bylaws. Motion portant présentation de règlement. Conseil Shantiri et McKenney, s'il vous plaît.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and moved by myself and seconded by Councillor McKenney that the bylaw listed on the agenda under motion to introduce bylaws 3 reading be read and passed, with the exception of the bylaw BB and CC, which are to be deferred to council meeting on September 9, 2015.
Carried. Confirmation bylaw, réglementation de ratification, Councillor Shantiri and McKenney.
That the following bylaw be read and passed to confirm the proceeding of the council meeting of 26 August 2015.
Carried. Adopté. Madam Deputy Clerk, are there any written inquiries? Adjournment. Councillor Shantiri and Councillor McKenney, please.
That the proceeding of the City Council meeting of 26 August 2015 be adjourned.
On the motion, carried. Meeting adjourned. Thank you very much. Merci beaucoup.